What's good, family? You already know where you landed, and you already know we don't do sacred cows on this channel. If somebody you ride for is about to catch heat in the next few minutes, the door is right there, take it if you need it. I won't chase you, I won't beg you, and I promise I'll sleep just fine tonight either way. So take a breath, lock in, and let's get into what everybody has been whispering about all weekend, because the footage that just surfaced of Chrisean Rock and her son is not the kind of footage a mother in her right mind lets leave a live stream. This is the kind of footage that ends careers. This is the kind of footage that starts investigations. This is the kind of footage that grown men who have seen everything the internet has to offer are looking at with their jaw on the floor asking how in the world we got here. This is the kind of footage that stops a scroll dead in its tracks. This is the kind of footage that becomes evidence in a courtroom one day if the right people finally decide to do their jobs. And this is the kind of footage that Chrisean Rock's own team, if they had any survival instinct left, would have buried before it ever left the livestream. But it didn't get buried. It got clipped. It got mirrored. It got reposted. It got downloaded. And now it's here. Let me set the table for you, because context is the whole meal. Over the last several days, Chrisean Rock and Blueface have been doing that on-again dance the internet cannot look away from. The pair pulled up to a Dodgers game with Chrisean Jr., they smiled for the cameras, they let the paparazzi eat, and for one Friday night the illusion was intact. Everybody got their photo op. Everybody got their reconciliation headline. But here is the piece nobody wants to sit with, the Dodgers game was the first and last time Chrisean Jr. was seen in public on that entire trip. After that Friday night ended, Chrisean Rock was spotted at the airport, spotted around Los Angeles, spotted with Blueface at studio runs, spotted on livestream backdrops, but Chrisean Jr. disappeared from the feed like somebody hit a mute button on the child. Poof. Gone. Nowhere. Now, Chrisean Jr. is still here. I want to be careful with my language because I know how this internet works, and I know how quickly a phrase gets clipped. He is still with us. He is still breathing. But the word, well, is a word I cannot in good conscience put next to his name after what I just watched over the last 72 hours. Same movie, different weekend, Chrisean Rock is out here doing the version of parenting we have unfortunately learned to expect from her, and the receipts have piled up so high that even her most devoted defenders are quietly logging off. The Stan army is thinning. The apologists are running out of scripts. The gossip pages that used to give Chrisean Rock free positive coverage are quietly pivoting. And the footage keeps coming, week after week, weekend after weekend, live stream after live stream, like a horror movie franchise nobody asked for a sequel to. Let me walk you through what surfaced, frame by frame, because the details are what tell the story, and Chrisean Rock is counting on you to look away before you catch them. She is counting on your attention span. She is counting on the algorithm burying this by tomorrow. And that is exactly why we are going to slow this down and stay in it. Frame by frame. Second by second. Because Chrisean Jr. does not get a lawyer. Chrisean Jr. does not get a publicist. Chrisean Jr. does not get to run damage control on his own behalf. All he has, right now, is a camera that keeps accidentally capturing the truth, and an internet full of strangers who are paying more attention to his welfare than the woman who gave birth to him. The first clip that broke containment showed Chrisean Rock in the middle of a live stream, phone lighting up beside her, when her ringer went off at full volume right in Chrisean Jr.'s face. She jumped. She yelled. She threw her arms up. She let out a scream that could shatter glass. And then, after all of that noise, she looked over at her son. Now, the caption attached to the clip said Chrisean Jr. got startled. That is the narrative Chrisean Rock's fan army wants you to run with. But I rewound this footage more times than I want to admit, and I need you to see what I saw with your own two eyes. Chrisean Jr. did not flinch. Chrisean Jr. did not turn. Chrisean Jr. did not react at all. Chrisean Jr. sat completely still, eyes locked on nothing, until his mother physically reached over and moved his face with her own hand. That is not a startled toddler. That is a child mid-episode. That is what a seizure looks like when the person filming it doesn't know what a seizure looks like, and that is the whole tragedy in one sentence. Rewind that with me one more time, and I want you to pay attention like your certification depends on it. Watch his eyes. Watch his shoulders. Watch his little chest. Watch how his tiny frame does not shift a single millimeter while Chrisean Rock is hollering 3 inches from his ear at a volume that would make a grown man drop his coffee. A neurotypical child jumps at that volume. A tired child at least turns their head. A sleeping child at least twitches. A child in an active medical event does none of those things. And Chrisean Jr., in that moment, does none of those things. He was gone. He was not in that room. He was not on this planet in that instant. And when he came back because his mother's hand pulled him back, not because his body woke up on its own. That right there is a piece of evidence I would like every one of Chrisean Rock's fans to sit with before they type another word in her defense. Because what I just described is not gossip. It is not shade. It is not a smear campaign. It is what your eyes see if you are willing to open them and look. And more importantly, it is what a neurologist would tell you if you handed them the same clip and asked for an honest read. But we are not done. We are barely getting started, because the next clip is worse. And when I say worse, I mean the kind of worse that made me pause the video, put my phone down, and take a walk before I finished editing this segment. The follow-up footage shows Chrisean Rock trying to prop Chrisean Jr. up on his feet, a routine she performs on camera every few weeks like it's a magic trick she cannot quite land. She yanks him up. She dangles him. She swings his little body like a doll while she narrates over him in that high-pitched voice she uses whenever she knows the audience is watching. And when Chrisean Jr.'s feet finally hit the floor, the camera does something Chrisean Rock did not want the camera to do. It zoomed in. The world got a clear look at what she has been trying to obscure for 2 straight years. I need you to understand what you are about to see, because Chrisean Rock has been on this platform for months telling every microphone she can find that Chrisean Jr. is wearing braces, that Chrisean Jr.'s club feet are being treated, that the situation is under control, that everything is on schedule, that all the doubters are going to look silly in 6 months. And every single time she says any of that, the footage says something different. His feet are worse. Not the same. Not slightly worse. Actually, visibly, catastrophically worse. His feet have curled inward so severely that the arches now bend downward like a frown carved into his soles. His ankles are turned so far in that when Chrisean Rock forces him upright, he is not standing on his feet at all. He is standing on the sides of his ankles. Let that sit in your chest for a full breath. A 3-year-old child, in the year we are currently living in a country with world-class pediatric hospitals, is being propped up on the sides of his own ankles because his feet cannot bear his weight, and his mother is smiling into a camera about progress. Rewind that with me. Look at the left foot. Look at the arch, look at how it curls back on itself like a claw. Look at the right foot. Look at the angle. Any pediatric orthopedic specialist watching this footage would be on the phone within an hour of seeing it, and I am willing to bet money that a few of them already have been. This is not something braces alone repair. This is a surgical trajectory. This is a case that requires anesthesia, hardware, months of serial casting, a full Plancidi method protocol delivered by a specialist who does this for a living, and a rehabilitation calendar that Chrisean Rock has demonstrated zero willingness to keep. And she is stuffing his malformed feet into sneakers so the picture looks normal for the algorithm. She is putting shoes on a child who cannot walk. She is decorating the deformity instead of correcting it. That is the whole indictment in one sentence. And I want the fan base to hear this next line clearly, because I am tired of tap dancing around it. Whatever the next excuse is, whatever new specialist Chrisean Rock claims to be seeing, whatever new appointment she claims is on the books, whatever new brand of braces she claims is arriving next week, the footage on your screen right now is what a lack of care looks like. The footage on your screen right now is the receipt. And no press run, no glow-up post, no reconciliation tour with Blueface, no boxing weigh-in, no gospel single, and no manager-scripted, positive update, caption can outrun what a camera captured in unedited real time. Case closed on that one. Locked. Sealed. No further questions from this side of the courtroom. Let's keep it moving, because the next clip is where my chest genuinely got tight. Chrisean Rock, midstream, hears someone off-camera speak on Chrisean Jr.'s condition. Watch what her body does before her mouth does, because the body always tells the truth first. Her eyes drop. She looks at her son. And then, in one smooth motion, the kind of motion a woman only makes when she has practiced it 100 times before, she slides her hand up to cover Chrisean Jr.'s face. Not to comfort him. Not to shield him from a bright light. To hide him. To hide the marks on him. To hide whatever the internet was going to zoom in on next. That was the moment Chrisean Jr. did something that I want the internet to remember for a long, long time. Chrisean Jr., a 3-year-old who cannot walk on his own, cannot speak fluently, cannot advocate for himself in the way you or I can, pushed past his mother's hand. Popped his little head right back into frame. Stared straight into the camera. And refused to be hidden. I am not going to sit here and tell you Chrisean Jr. planned that maneuver. I am not going to romanticize a child's involuntary movements. But I will tell you this, whatever the boy has left of his agency, he used it in that single instant. And Chrisean Rock's face when he did it, the small, tight, annoyed flicker that flashed across her mouth for half a second before she reset her stream smile, told the whole story. She was trying to run a cover-up on live camera, and her own son ruined the cover-up by existing loudly and refusing to disappear on command. Now zoom in with me, because the reason she was covering him is now visible to anyone with a screen. There is a lump. Middle of Chrisean Jr.'s forehead. Small, but unmistakable. Raised. Discolored. The kind of lump a pediatrician would document. There is a mark near his sideburn area, in the soft tissue right in front of the ear, a spot that is almost impossible to hurt without direct contact. There is a faint bruise above his eyebrow. This is a 3-year-old, non-ambulatory, medically fragile child. He does not have the mobility to fall and hurt himself in 3 separate places on his face in 3 separate zones. He does not have the coordination to bruise his own face. He is not out there playing tag. Somebody put those marks on him. Somebody put their hands on this child. And the leading theory across every commentary channel that has looked at this footage is that those marks appeared during the weekend Chrisean Rock's sister Nevaeh went into labor, the same weekend Chrisean Rock was reportedly in the worst mood the internet has seen her in this entire calendar year. That's not a mother. That's a warning label. That's a red flag with a red flag flying on top of it. That's the kind of instinct a person only develops when they have a lot to hide and a long history of hiding it. Nobody's talking me off this take, and I will say it again louder for the fans in the back. A 3-year-old boy is walking around with visible marks on his head, and the woman legally responsible for him spent an entire livestream trying to slide her hand up to cover those marks while pretending the internet doesn't have eyes. If that exact behavior happened in any household in America that was not a household with a blue checkmark, CPS would be knocking before the livestream ended. Social workers would already be filing paperwork. But because Chrisean Rock is who Chrisean Rock is, and because her audience has been trained to defend her like it's a full-time job with health insurance attached, the boy is still in that apartment. Still on that stream. Still being propped up on his ankles. Let me pause and address her fan base directly for a second, because I know at least a third of the people watching this video right now are here to defend her. I know some of you have already typed the words, "Leave Chrisean alone," without watching a single clip. I want you to understand something before you hit post. Nobody on this channel wants Chrisean Rock to fail. Nobody is celebrating a child's suffering. Nobody would refuse to run a redemption video the second Chrisean Rock actually redeems the situation. What we are doing is what a healthy community does when a child is visibly not being cared for, we are refusing to look away. Because looking away is how Chrisean Jr. ended up on his ankles in the first place. Slide into the comments and tell me if I'm wrong. Now here is where the story takes a turn I did not expect when I first opened the footage, because Chrisean Rock said something during that same segment that gave the whole game away without her even realizing it. She turned to Chrisean Jr., who is nearly 3 years old, who is only weeks away from his 3rd birthday, who by every developmental metric that pediatricians actually track should be running around and forming full sentences, and she cooed at him like he was 3 months. "Hi Papa. Hi Papa. Such a happy baby. You're such a happy baby. 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 Baby." She said the word so many times in the span of 90 seconds that it started to sound like a marketing slogan, and that is because it is one. Here is what nobody on Chrisean Rock's team wants to say out loud. Every single time Chrisean Rock calls Chrisean Jr. a baby, she is buying herself another 6 months of grace from her audience. Because babies cannot walk. Babies cannot talk. Babies cannot go to physical therapy on their own. Babies get to be carried, and cooed at, and photographed like living accessories. Toddlers do not. Toddlers demand accountability. Toddlers demand development milestones. Toddlers demand medical follow-up. Toddlers demand a nutrition plan. And Chrisean Rock, whether she is doing this consciously or entirely by instinct, has been running a 2-year-long PR campaign designed to keep her son categorized as an infant so that her audience never asks the questions a toddler's mother would be forced to answer. That is not a slip of the tongue. That is a strategy. That is a communications playbook. A toddler frozen in infant packaging. That's what this is. That's what we have been watching for 2 straight years. That is the thumbnail of the entire relationship between Chrisean Rock and Chrisean Jr. She is not raising him. She is preserving him. She is holding him at the developmental stage that lets her keep collecting sympathy without collecting responsibility. And every single one of you who has ever commented, "Leave baby Chrisean alone," every single one of you who has ever referred to him as Baby JR, has been unknowingly recruited into that preservation project. Chrisean Jr. is not a baby. He is a toddler. He is a toddler who needs solid food, physical therapy, orthopedic surgery, speech therapy, occupational therapy, vision therapy, seizure monitoring, and a mother who is not spending every free hour arguing with Blueface on Instagram Live. He is a toddler who deserves to be spoken to like the small human being he is, not like a prop that Chrisean Rock can dust off for the camera whenever her engagement numbers dip. And I want to say this next part with my whole chest, because I think it matters more than anything I have said in the last 10 minutes. There are families across this country raising children with far more severe conditions than Chrisean Jr. appears to have, and those families would move heaven and earth to be given the resources Chrisean Rock has at her fingertips. Chrisean Rock has money. Chrisean Rock has access. Chrisean Rock has a manager, a team, a fan base, a media presence, a boxing purse, sponsorship revenue, and enough combined income to build an entire pediatric care team around her son if she wanted to. She does not want to. She wants a live stream. She wants a Dodgers game. She wants a Blueface reunion. She wants a boxing weigh-in. She wants a gospel single. She wants everything except the boring, unglamorous, uncelebrated work of showing up at appointments and following a treatment plan. And Chrisean Jr. is the accessory that gets dragged along when the content schedule permits. That is what, as usual, looks like when you strip the polite language off it. Let me rewind to something I glossed over earlier. When Chrisean Rock landed in California with Chrisean Jr., the boy was seen exactly once. One appearance. One photo op. One Dodgers game where he was propped in Blueface's lap for the cameras long enough to generate the reconciliation headlines Chrisean Rock's team desperately needed. And then he vanished. He was not at the airport pickup. He was not at the dinner runs. He was not on any of the Blueface stream backdrops. He was in a room somewhere, and Chrisean Rock, for reasons she has not explained, spent the rest of that weekend acting as if she had traveled to Los Angeles solo. Where was Chrisean Jr. during those hours? Who was watching him? Who was feeding him? Was he eating solid food, or was somebody handing him another bottle of milk because the mother of the year forgot to pack anything a toddler eats? Was his seizure medication administered? Was anyone monitoring him for the medical episodes we have all watched him have on camera? These are the questions Chrisean Rock's audience should be asking, and instead they are asking whether Blueface's chain in the reunion pictures was real diamonds or lab-grown. The priority ordering here is broken. It has been broken for a long time. And nobody in Chrisean Rock's camp is going to fix it, because fixing it would mean admitting it was broken to begin with, and admitting anything is broken is a move Chrisean Rock has never once made on camera in her entire career. She does not apologize. She does not concede. She does not adjust. She doubles down and hopes the next news cycle bails her out. It usually does. This time, I hope it doesn't. Now let me get to the part of this story that made me put my coffee down when I first saw it, because the very next livestream Chrisean Rock ran contained a segment that a lot of people missed on the first watch. She was setting Chrisean Jr. up for bed. Reading him a story, in air quotes so heavy I need both hands. Adjusting his blanket. Everything on the surface looked domestic and sweet, and this is exactly the kind of visual Chrisean Rock relies on to reset the sympathy meter every time it starts running low. But look at his feet again. Slow it down and look. He popped them out. His little feet came out from under the blanket in that same twisted position they are always in, arches bent, ankles rolled inward, toes pointed the wrong way. And Chrisean Rock, smooth as a magician doing a coin trick in Vegas, reached down, tugged the pajama legs over both feet, tucked them back under the blanket, and kept smiling into the camera like nothing had just happened. She hid them. Again. She hid them the same way she tried to hide the marks on his face. She hid them the same way she tries to hide every single uncomfortable truth about the child she is legally supposed to be protecting. You are not going to see it, on her stream, until she chooses to let you see it. And she is never going to choose. Which means the only reason you and I have any of this footage is because Chrisean Rock made a mistake, or a stream operator made a mistake, or the camera angle betrayed her for one unguarded second. Every real piece of evidence we have on Chrisean Jr.'s condition is an accident. Every honest moment is a mistake. Everything else is a performance. Now, this is where I need to be honest with you about something. There is a version of this story where Chrisean Rock is doing her best, where Chrisean Rock is overwhelmed, where Chrisean Rock is a very young woman navigating a very public life while also raising a medically complex child in the middle of a toxic on-again, off-again relationship with a man the internet has told her 1,000 times to leave. I have room in my chest for that version. I really do. I have empathy for young mothers. I have empathy for mental health struggles. But every time I open a new clip, that version gets harder and harder to defend. Because doing your best does not look like propping a disabled toddler on his ankles for content. Doing your best does not look like covering fresh bruises during a live stream. Doing your best does not look like calling a 3-year-old baby in a helpless voice while his club feet worsen in real time on camera. Doing your best does not look like flying your son to Los Angeles, showing him at a Dodgers game for one Friday night, and then hiding him for the rest of the trip while you rekindle a relationship the entire internet has told you not to rekindle. The clock ran out on excuses. And the sand ran out of the hourglass a long time ago. And here is where I have to bring Carlisa into this, because Carlisa, Blueface mother, love her or hate her, has been saying the quiet part loud for months. Carlisa has publicly stated, in her own words, that Chrisean Jr.'s condition is directly tied to the way Chrisean Rock treated her pregnancy. Carlisa has referenced the substance use. Carlisa has referenced the physical altercations while Chrisean Rock was carrying the child. Carlisa has been on the record about all of this for so long that most of the internet has started to tune her out as background noise. And yet, every single piece of footage that has surfaced in the last 6 months has ended up quietly proving Carlisa correct. The seizures line up with Carlisa's timeline. The developmental delay lines up with Carlisa's timeline. The club feet line up with Carlisa's timeline. The blindness, because Chrisean Jr. appears to have significantly limited vision, a fact Chrisean Rock has never once directly addressed on camera, lines up with Carlisa's timeline. Carlisa is not the villain of this story, no matter how hard Chrisean Rock's fan base wants her to be. Carlisa is the earliest siren. And when the earliest siren gets ignored, the fire spreads. Every time Chrisean Rock brings Chrisean Jr. into another live stream, another photo op, another Blueface reunion, she is testing whether her audience will let her keep doing this. So far, the audience has answered yes. And that is the reason absolutely none of this has changed in 2 years. Rewind that with me. Because I want you to feel the pattern in your gut. Live stream number 1, Chrisean Jr. zones out mid-conversation. Chrisean Rock waves it off. Live stream number 2, Chrisean Jr.'s feet curl visibly on camera. Chrisean Rock covers them. Live stream number 3, Chrisean Jr. has visible marks on his face. Chrisean Rock slides a hand up to hide them. Live stream number 4, Chrisean Jr. is dragged across the floor because he cannot walk. Chrisean Rock frames it as progress. Live stream number 5, Chrisean Jr. is called baby 13 times in 90 seconds. Chrisean Rock cashes the sympathy check. That is not a series of accidents. That is a system. That is a playbook. That is a woman who has figured out that the internet's attention span is short enough that she can rotate through the same crisis footage every single week and never once be asked to actually solve the underlying crisis. And her audience, bless their hearts, keeps buying the next episode. Keeps clicking the next stream. Keeps typing the next defense. Keeps donating the next super chat. Keeps posting the next heart emoji under the next photo of the next moment that should be raising alarms instead of engagement numbers. Now let's talk about the scooting, because a lot of you have been asking me about it in the comments for weeks. There is footage of Chrisean Jr. scooting across the floor. On his stomach. On his back. On his side. Any way he can figure out that lets him move a foot or two without having to use his feet. And the fan base has been marketing this behavior as progress. As proof that Chrisean Jr. is developing. As evidence that Chrisean Rock's methods are working. I need to be gentle here, but I also have to be honest about what I am actually looking at on my screen. Progress is not a nearly 3-year-old dragging himself across a hardwood floor because his feet cannot bear his weight. Progress is not a child pulling his own body along the ground with the strength of his forearms because he has never once been taught to walk. What we are looking at, in the most compassionate framing I can possibly offer, is a child adapting to an environment where nobody has provided him the medical scaffolding to develop normally. That is not progress. That is survival. And those two words are not the same word. Junior, and I want to say his name plainly here, Junior deserves progress. Junior deserves a physical therapy schedule with a real practitioner. Junior deserves a nutritionist who has actually evaluated his diet. Junior deserves a neurologist tracking his seizure activity month by month. Junior deserves an ophthalmologist assessing his vision with real equipment. Junior deserves an orthopedic surgeon writing him a comprehensive plan for his feet. Junior deserves a speech therapist starting the work that should have started at 18 months. Junior deserves a pediatrician who is not scared of Chrisean Rock's fan base. Junior deserves adults in his life who put his development above their content calendar. None of that requires perfection from Chrisean Rock. It only requires the willingness to admit that what she is currently doing is not working. And the reason we are on livestream number 12 of the same crisis footage on repeat is because Chrisean Rock is not willing to admit that. And her manager is not willing to force the conversation. And her fan base is not willing to hold her to it. Same movie, different weekend. Let me get to something the internet has been quietly circulating. There are unverified reports, I want to stress the word unverified, that during the weekend of Nevaeh's baby shower, when Chrisean Rock was seen visibly agitated on camera and off, there was an incident involving Chrisean Jr. that directly led to the bruise on his forehead. I am not going to state that as fact, because I do not have primary source confirmation. But I will tell you the reason those reports have traction is because the timeline of the marks appearing on the child's face lines up exactly with the timeline of Chrisean Rock's documented mood swings across that specific weekend. The fan base can call that a coincidence 100 times, but the receipts keep stacking in the same direction. If you are new to this channel and you are watching this for the first time, welcome. I want you to understand the exact reason we go this hard on Chrisean Jr. coverage. It is not personal. It is not envy. It is not clout. It is because this is one of the most publicly documented cases of alleged medical neglect in modern celebrity culture, and every single time we as a viewership let it slide, we are teaching every other influencer parent in America that this level of documentation is acceptable, that this level of on-camera behavior has no consequence, and that a child's suffering can be monetized as content indefinitely. Nobody's talking me off this take. Not the stands. Not the subtweets. Not the reply guys who show up in my comments every week trying to explain that I'm the problem. I am not the problem. Chrisean Rock is the problem. And a 3-year-old boy who cannot walk is the person paying the bill for that problem. Now, before I close out, I want to circle back to something Chrisean Rock said during that latest stream that I have not been able to shake. She was interacting with a caller, and the caller pushed back on her about Chrisean Jr.'s condition. Chrisean Rock's response was to declare that everybody was sounding dumb. Not that she disagreed. Not that she had answers. Not that she wanted to explain. Just that everybody was sounding dumb. That is the tell. That is the moment the mask slipped completely off. Because a mother with nothing to hide answers questions. A mother with a plan explains the plan. A mother whose son is under real medical care produces the doctor's name without hesitation. Chrisean Rock does none of those things. She dismisses. She insults. She rolls her eyes. She slides her hand up to cover his face. And she calls the concerned public dumb for asking questions any concerned neighbor would ask. You are not dumb for asking. You are a functioning adult for asking. And the second the internet forgets that basic truth, we lose the last piece of leverage we have to keep this child alive, developing, and heading toward a version of adulthood that includes the ability to walk, speak, and see. Let me bring this in for a landing. If you have watched this entire thing with me, you already know exactly where I stand. You already know I do not believe Chrisean Jr. is getting the care he needs. You already know I do not trust the progress framing. You already know I do not think baby talking a toddler is cute. You already know I think Chrisean Rock is running a PR strategy, not a treatment plan. But I also want you to know this. There is still time. Chrisean Jr. is not lost. Chrisean Jr. is not beyond saving. Chrisean Jr.'s window for clubfoot correction has not fully closed. Chrisean Jr.'s window for seizure management has not fully closed. Chrisean Jr.'s window for developmental support has not fully closed. There is a version of this story, 6 months from now, where Chrisean Rock wakes up, hires a real pediatric care team, disappears from the livestream circuit for a full year, and returns with a child who can walk into a frame on his own 2 feet and say his own name into a microphone. I would love that version of the story. I would celebrate that version of the story publicly and repeatedly. I would run the redemption video with joy in my chest. But I am not going to hold my breath. And I am not going to let the fan base gaslight me into pretending the version we are currently watching is the version we should accept. So here is what I want from you before you close this video. Slide into the comments and tell me one thing: do you believe Chrisean Jr. is getting the medical care he deserves, yes or no? Just those 3 letters. I want to see where the actual public is on this, because the algorithm has been feeding me a very curated version of the discourse, and I want to know what the real numbers look like when the fanbase bots are turned off. If you are new here, hit subscribe. Not because I need the number, although, let's be honest, I do, but because the next video I am dropping is the one where I break down exactly what happened during the Blueface reunion weekend, exactly where Chrisean Jr. was on those missing days, and exactly who was watching him. That video is going to be spicy. That video is going to make some enemies. And that video is not going to hit your feed unless the algorithm knows you want it. So subscribe, ring the bell, and I will see you the second I hit publish. If this video hit right, boost me. Like it, comment on it, share it to whoever in your group chat has been trying to defend Chrisean Rock. Send it to the auntie who still thinks Blueface is a role model. Send it to the cousin who calls Chrisean Jr. baby Chrisean. Let them watch the footage with their own eyes and let them come to their own conclusions. And if you disagreed with one single word I said, the door is right there. You know how to use it. I will still be right here when you come back, because deep down, past the loyalty, past the fandom, you already know I am telling you the truth. That's the whole story. That's the whole tape. That's the whole verdict. Chrisean Rock has a toddler she is treating like a baby, a disabled child she is treating like a prop, a medical situation she is treating like a PR crisis, a fan base she is treating like an ATM, and a co-parent she is treating like a highlight reel. And none of it is going to change until we, the people watching, decide out loud that it has to change. Same movie, different weekend. Until it isn't. Until the receipts stack too high for the fan base to carry. Until the algorithm stops rewarding the cover-ups. Until a real journalist with a real platform picks this story up and refuses to put it down. Until somebody in Chrisean Rock's inner circle grows a conscience loud enough to override the paychecks. Until then, we keep watching. We keep documenting. We keep refusing to look away. I will see you on the next one. Boost me if this hit right. And take care of yourselves out there. The internet is a lot, and this story is a lot, and Chrisean Jr. is a lot to carry in your chest, and you are allowed to log off after this. Just do not log off before you comment. Because a comment is a signal, and a signal is leverage, and leverage is the only thing between that child and another repeat of everything you just watched. Peace. See you on the next one.